Well, it is week 3 of the NFL season, and of course, we have to bring back the host of our Locked On Patriots podcast, Mike Debate, is joining us again to preview the Patriots matchup against the New Orleans Saints. Mike, what did you hear during this week of practice from coaches or players about how they're preparing for a 1-1 Saints team?
Well, there's no question about it. This is a matchup that Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots are taking very seriously. This is a team that can beat you in a number of ways. They have a very good run defense. They're very good against the pass as well. And this is a team that can attack you in a lot of different ways on offense. Bill Belichick, effusive in his praise of head coach Sean Payton of the New Orleans Saints, Jameis Winston, their quarterback, Alvin Kamara, their running back, and a very formidable defense. So the message to the New England Patriots this week in practice, take care of the football as always, but also be ready to be able to defend against the run, against the pass, and be ready for pretty much anything, because Sean Payton is a coach that loves to mix things up, tries to get you confused a little bit, and if he does that, the New England Patriots could be caught off guard. That's something Bill Belichick and the Pats Brain Trust definitely do not want to happen.
And this early season for the Saints, I feel like has been just a perfect summary of Jameis Winston's career. He plays well week 1, doesn't play well on week 2. What are you expecting from really the Saints on offense, and how do you think the Patriots respond on defense?
Well, if in terms of what the Saints would like to do on offense, they want to get Alvin Kamara involved. He is their potential game breaker. This is a guy that can run for power. He can run for finesse. He can get and catch out of the backfield. He's capable of receiving. He's actually one of their leading receivers right now, believe it or not. Alvin can do it all. And Bill Belichick, once again, was very, very much cautious about saying that he's a guy that's going to give the Patriots problems if they allow it. So from a Patriots defensive standpoint, you want to try to keep the ball in Jameis Winston's hands. And I know that sounds a little odd considering that he's the quarterback. You want to try to confuse him. You want to try to get the ball out of his hands. But Jameis can make things happen with his legs. He's very adept at being able to complete passes. We saw 2 weeks ago against the Green Bay Packers throwing for 5 touchdowns. This is a guy that still has a lot of talent left in the tank. But you look at last week, threw a couple of picks, looked like the Jameis that has had his difficulties. This is the type of quarterback, theoretically, Sam, that Bill Belichick loves to face. Someone who you can force into bad throws or force him into making throws he doesn't want to make. If that's the case, that's what the New England Patriots would love to do. Try to force turnovers and then be able to capitalize them on the offensive side of the ball.
And Mike, last week you said you really wanted to see Mac Jones and Josh McDaniels kind of play a little bit more loose, have Josh McDaniels take the training wheels off his rookie quarterback. Did you see that last week against the Jets? And if not, do you expect to see more standard Patriots offense come Sunday?
We saw very little of it, Sam, and to tell you the truth, I would like to see more, but I think that Patriots fans, media alike, all of us need to remember that this kid's still a rookie. He's still developing. He's still becoming the quarterback he will become in future years. He's completing over 70% of his passes in his first 2 games. That is an amazing feat for any quarterback, let alone a rookie quarterback that's making his first 2 starts. What I would look for in Mac Jones this week is give him the opportunity to test his skill a little bit downfield. He's got some threats down there that a lot of people have been waiting to see in action. Nelson Aguilar for one. Kendrick Bourne for another one can break and go for big yardage. Jacoby Myers is still very much capable of being a receiver in the open field, although he's a little bit more utilized and better in the slot this year. I would look for those things for the New England Patriots and try to see if Mac Jones can make those throws downfield. He missed a couple of open targets last week. That's still some of the rookie getting out of him and being able to see the field from a pro perspective. In the red zone, I definitely would look for him to try to test some of his red zone weapons, particularly the 2 tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, a little bit. Get those guys involved. Allow them to do what they do well in the red zone, that score touchdowns, get open, and open up the offense for a lot of different possibilities.
And Mike, you've been covering this team for a number of years. What is the vibe like in the locker room between the coaching staff? Because obviously we've never seen a rookie quarterbacks in 20 plus years for New England fans. What's the vibe of this team right now? 1-1, headed into a tough stretch of games with the Saints, and then obviously some quarterback named Tom Brady comes back to Gillette in just a few weeks.
Yeah, I think we're familiar with that name. I'm not quite sure where I've heard it before, but I'm sure we'll hear a lot of it over the course of the next couple of days and weeks because, we've got to inform the public. Now, I digress, Sam. Look, bottom line, I think there is a good rapport. I think there is a good feeling. And I think there's a lot of camaraderie in the Patriots locker room right now. There's optimism. You hear it when you hear, especially captains, team captains like James White, David Andrews, talk about the prowess that Mac Jones has and how they are willing to put the ball in his hands and have him carry this team. That's big when you take a rookie quarterback that really is very much green in the ways of the NFL, and he already has developed that type of confidence in his teammates. This is not type of praise that is thrown around in New England quite that often. You don't see praise for the sake of praise. You have to earn it, especially with those guys. And they have been very vocal about their confidence in Mac Jones. But it really goes beyond just Mac. It's about the entire team. It's about the improved defense and the front seven being able to stop the run a little bit better, set the edge. They've done a tremendous job of that in the secondary to be able to get stops. And the offense leaning on the running game, being able to lean on the offensive line. There's just a lot of confidence in this team right now. And even though they're 1-1, they've had their struggles. You still get the feeling that their best football is still inside them. Hopefully, throughout the course of this week and next, the Patriots will start letting that out even more.
And Mike, speaking of defense, this could be, if the Saints are clicking on all cylinders, their toughest opponent to date. What do you want to see from the front seven, or really the secondary, just the unit as a whole, come Sunday to slow down New Orleans?
Well, if I'm the front seven, my main goal is to try to contain the run. That's what opens up so much for New Orleans. If Alvin Kamara starts to get lanes and he starts to get big yardage, all of a sudden that takes the pressure off of Jameis Winston. He can start going to Kamara as a weapon on the ground. He can start utilizing him, catching passes out of the backfield, maybe catching the front seven a little bit off guard. If he's able to pick his targets and he's not forced into making throws he doesn't want to make, you saw a couple of weeks ago, again, Sam, this is a guy that can make the throws and can do it and do it consistently and get his team into the end zone. What you want out of the Patriots is to stop the run game, put pressure on Jameis Winston, force him into situations that are maybe a little bit more in the pocket, that don't allow him to utilize some of his agility, and that will allow the Patriots to be able to play their game. If they can do that and force him into some turnovers, or at least force him into some bad throws, then they can dictate the tempo, and that allows the secondary to be able to set up. Obviously, New Orleans right now is banged up a little bit in terms of their wide receivers. Their star wide receiver, Michael Thomas, obviously not going in this game. He's still upgrading, and still convalescing from off-season surgery. So a lot to contain here with the New Orleans Saints, but it really is all about containing that running game up front. You do that, everything else will fall into place.
Well, Mike, we've already heard a few keys of your game, but what do you think the Patriots need to do on offense to win this game?
On offense, basically, they need to continue their game plan, but just do a little bit more of it. They need to continue to utilize the running game. Now, Damian Harris has been banged up a little bit this week. He's been limited in practice with a finger injury. We're still continuing to monitor that, Sam. Hopefully, Damian will be able to go in this game. If not, look for a heavy dose of James White, Ramondre Stevenson, J.J. Taylor. They will take the main snap. Even Brandon Bolden, I'm sure, will get his share of looks as well. But if I'm the Patriots, I continue to utilize Mac Jones' strengths. Those quick, accurate throws downfield, getting to where the target needs to be, putting it where the receiver can get it, and being able to make plays. But test the field a little bit as well and try to get into the red zone and make things happen there. If the Patriots do that, I think they'll be okay offensively this weekend.
And another big thank you to Mike Debate, the host of our Locked On Patriots podcast. You can stream that podcast on any platform with podcast. Mike will be here to break down every game of the Patriots season on Fridays. Mike, thank you for stopping by.
Absolutely, Sam. Always my honor and pleasure. Take care and enjoy the game this weekend.